Hello, my name is Bill Smith, Assistant Superintendent of Kent ISD, and I'm here to share with you a proposal that I'd like to get your feedback on that is originating in our Collaboration Committee for KESA, which is a superintendent's group to support teaching and learning and student achievement throughout our county. This proposal is built around a concept that's somewhat unique, and as we look at trying to venture forward, we'll see how this goes. So a little bit of technical difficulty. So what is this it? It starts with a little piece of clay. Like any it starts and then it starts to take shape with an idea. Evolves into a question. That question then becomes an idea to get the wheels turning. What if then we can, and it will be better. All leaders in instruction that care about kids have this same thought process. What if? And if we can do this, then we can, and then it'll get better. So, starting with our small conversation and small conversations throughout, what we're talking about here is an idea that's molding. The idea takes a shape, the question becomes specific, and a plan formulates. After dialogue, analysis, reflection, it takes form. What started as an idea evolved into a question and then into a concept, takes in some ideas through a collaborative process, and here we are. The result is a finished product that serves a purpose, created through a collaborative process that began with an idea. So it's a little bit of an update of the journey. The Collaboration Committee has had some success along their journey in supporting busing and transportation, the food service or beverage consortium, diesel fuel and cost breaks, bid sync process, always seeking to make sure that the price is right. And the results have always been an increase in efficiencies that equal an increase in money for kids, so kids can learn. That's always been our bottom line. So as we go through this, this is the idea. Bottom line, kids need to learn. How can the Collaboration Committee create efficiencies that support this learning? How can this efficiency and instruction help us? That's their question. Can we go beyond just dealing with the pavement, the rocks, the ground, the gravel, all those things that are distant from education, and can we get it to the point where it's more than just the external factors? Can this through efficiency supported through the Collaboration Committee, this equal this? Increased efficiencies leading to more money for instruction and learning, more time for instruction and learning, and more resources for instruction and learning. How can we help facilitate the transition of the what as we roll out the Common Core? We want to go beyond the what we teach and lead to the how that we teach, the how of instruction, and that's where we struggle and where I think the Collaboration Committee can become a great benefit. How do we get from this, the old school Bloom's taxonomy of higher order thinking skills that just simply range from knowledge to evaluation, and more towards this, which is the 21st century world, where we're talking about the top of the scale would be creating, and keeping creation as the key component in our instructional process. How do we get to this new version of Bloom's taxonomy, where we talk about the HOTS, or the higher order thinking skills, this somewhat complex feel, but we know that is essential in today's 21st century learning environment to allow our children to be competitive. So how do we get to the 21st century instructional how? And our Collaboration Committee can support efficiencies in instruction by supporting teachers who are digital immigrants, and I'll spend a little time talking about this. The tools that they need to meet the learner needs of today's students, these digital natives, are a lot different. I'm a digital native. If you look at this photo, how many people have seen these YouTube videos that talk about this? He learns differently, this digital native, and they therefore must teach him differently. The Bloom's taxonomy in the modern world is much different, and you can see it here in the blooming butterfly wing. And this is probably the most critical slide to understanding the differences. If you look at some of these areas, the digital native, which is our kids today, versus our digital learners and these digital immigrants who are many of our teachers, there's a different way of looking at things, and this one's probably the most critical, the processing order. Digital natives look at things from the picture first, and then video and sound, and that leads them to text, whereas processing order is much different for our digital immigrants, who are many of our teachers. It comes from a text-based picture, video, and sound. Oftentimes you can see this manifest itself, for example, in Curriculum Craft or in our data warehouse, and the tools that we provide, which were intentionally provided for the emerging digital learners, the digital immigrants, but therefore have little to no value to our digital natives. Allocate a lot of resources here that don't really get back to here. So if you look at this chart, this is probably the most important piece to be able to take a look at. How are we going to engage this type of learner, this type of kid that's in our schools today? Global citizens, investigators, they want to experiment, they want to create, they want to do things not like we used to do them, but the way that they're accustomed to in their life. How do we get that pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy to include all these Web 2.0 tools? How do we get our teachers to become comfortable in using these things to be able to reach our learners? This is a valuable slide. What I try to do is once a week make sure that I've developed a skill set in one of these other many things. Prezi, Glogster, even utilizing my own YouTube channel. These are ways that as a teacher you can evaluate how you're reaching the digital immigrant. How can we do this without looking like this? And this is our fear. I mean, it's the fear of myself, it's the fear of collaboration, it's the fear of about everyone involved in education. How do we do something different that we know will benefit kids without it looking like the old Airbus? If it's so complex that teachers will not use the tool, then instead of these wonderful classrooms here of the 21st century where it's hands-on creating, using technology to drive individualized learning, we're going to end up getting this. And we've had a whole lot of that. And how do we get beyond that? So how do we make this a seemingly complex tool for teachers to serve the learning needs of digital natives? How do we make it much like feel much like a textbook of yesterday, this digital textbook, so it meets the needs of our teachers, but also more importantly the needs of our students. And good versus great design is a great source to be able to take a look at some things from the outside looking in when it comes to education. I think that we have to have some thoughtful reduction. So how do we make it be able to provide our teachers with great, effective access to common formative assessments so that they can actually utilize these assessments to drive instruction? How do we help them roll out the Common Core so they get beyond the what and start teaching it, focusing on the how? How do we get to the blended learning format that we know that using a diagnostic tool to drive instruction and create individualized learning so that we can get the efficiencies of best practices? How do we evolve beyond our normal textbook and replace those textbooks that are dinosaurs at the time of print into a digital textbook that can drive instruction for digital learners? How do we get to the point where we can embed credits so that students in one course can see the alignment of multiple strategies through multiple courses and achieve credit? How do we fix the issues that we face, whether it be summer school credit recovery or acceleration to allow individuals to be able to get an associate's degree before completion of high school? So how can it do this? Has anyone else done it before? Yeah, the answer is yes, they have. Here's an example of one framework that kind of replicates what we're talking about here. And to me, looking at this from my old teaching background makes me feel like that. Looks like an Airbus. Here's another one. This one takes a little bit better approach to it. It shares with some ideas, but it's still not put together on one platform. It's kind of a hodgepodge, and how do you get from the instructor to the learner without it being an Airbus? And then there's this one. This is a holistic solution, and again, it focuses on the key issues of the problem, but it does not empower the digital immigrant, the teacher, to serve the needs of the digital learner. It's better, but it's still this. And again, nothing we're going to do, we're going to be able to do it without a lot of passion. I know that there's many people with passion to reinvent this, and we definitely are facing a lot of problems, and that's a great opportunity for us. These obstacles that stand in our way, oftentimes it's us that's the obstacle. So if we can take a look at it with an open mind and approach what we can see here, I'm sure that we can come up with an idea here. This idea is taking shape, the plan formulates, and we need to be specific about it. How can we get teachers that have to meet the